Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator. And in this episode, I'm going to be showing you guys some very awesome tips and tricks that I was given on how to record a very crisp image in virtual reality. Make sure if you guys can that you join us at Flight Sim Expo 2023. That's right, Overkill Simulations is going to be present this year, guys, at the Lone Star Museum in Houston, Texas. If you guys are interested in joining us there, be sure to check down the description below. There is a coupon code that can save you guys a bit of money using my personal reference to get you there. Again, that'll save you a bit of cash in your Flight Sim Expo 2023 experience. This is going to be June 23rd through the 25th of 2023. Again, in Houston, Texas, at the Lone Star Flight Museum. I went a few years ago in Las Vegas, and they are an absolute great time. There's some very, very informative and educational seminars to help better your flight simming experience, as well as a ton of developers of both hardware and software that you guys actually get to try out, essentially a try before you buy experience, as well as talking with the developers themselves and finding out what the products are all about. So again, guys, it's going to be Flight Sim Expo 2023 in Houston, Texas. I hope to see you guys all there. Don't forget to use my coupon code that you can find down in the description below. If you are interested in acquiring any of my Overkills tutorial guides or simply interested in supporting the channel, please consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides as well as any future guides that come along down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below, and thank you to all of my current subscribers. Okay, folks. So first off, I want to talk about what spawned this little adventure of mine. So I've been wanting to do VR videos for a long time. I just haven't ever been able to find a way of recording VR that is anywhere close to the quality that I'm looking for in the videos as far as the image fidelity. I want to give a big shout out right now to the VR Flight Sim guy. A link to his channel will be down in the description below. Make sure you guys give him a shout out, give him some likes and subscribes. Really awesome work, especially if you're looking to refine your virtual reality experience. The other person that I want to give a big shout out to is actually over on the VR Flight Sim guys Discord, and that is the Sky King. The Sky King, you gave me a ton of very valuable information as far as setting up my Pimax 8KX for virtual reality recording. It really made a huge difference. So super excited and super grateful. And that's the information that I want to share with you guys today. So getting right into it, the reason why I wanted to do this is I now have the motion simulation pit, which motion simulation truly shines in virtual reality. Yes, it can be done with monitor stands and 3D or 3-screen setups. You know, it does just as fun. But when you get into motion simulation and you attach that or pair that up with virtual reality, it's an experience like none other, you guys. It's really quite phenomenal. And if you guys are interested in a very budget friendly in respect to the competition, motion simulation, guys, make sure that you guys check out a link in the description below for DOF Reality, or just Google DOF Reality. Very, very good setup. Now, getting into how to set up VR. This is not a one-stop shop, one size fits all. This is simply what works very well for me, and I'm hoping to share some of this information with you guys because I have been trying for months and months and months to set this up in a way that it works very nicely. Some of the information I will provide here, some of it I'm going to refer you over to the VR Flight Sim Guys channel for further information. Now let's go ahead and get started. A link to every product that I have here, guys, will be down in the description below, so feel free to simply click on the links and then follow the steps. The links will take you to the pages that you are seeing first on the screen. So first, we're going to talk about the OpenXR Toolkit. What is OpenXR? OpenXR is an alternative runtime versus using something like SteamVR or some of the others like the Oculus software, things like that. It's its own runtime that allows you to sort of ditch the manufacturer stuff. In my case, what it allows me to get away from is SteamVR. SteamVR, great for some, but honestly, especially when it comes to simulators, it really taxes the system and brings you down. The performance difference that I have noticed in both DCS World and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Microsoft Flight Simulator, even with my 4080, up until using OpenXR Toolkit, I was not willing to fly in VR because the performance was so crappy for me. So we're going to talk about some of this. So it's definitely, in my opinion, significantly better than SteamVR. Okay, so first we're going to come over here and we're just going to step around down, download the latest, and you're going to grab the latest version of the OpenXR Toolkit 1.32. We already have it. The other thing is, make sure you guys read this section. There are some VR applications that will require the Open Composite, and you guys can determine whether or not that's something that is actually going to be needed, but you will have to read through very carefully, please. For example, here, please note that if you are interested in using OpenXR Toolkit with OpenVR applications through the Open Composite, this table here will tell you more about what that's available. So make sure you read through that. That's an entirely different section. We're not talking about that at the moment. The other thing is Pimax. If you are like myself and a Pimax user, you want to use Pymax XR, and that removes the use of SteamVR completely, which is very, very helpful. I cannot stand, like I said, I cannot stand SteamVR. It was not a good application for me. Which brings us actually here. I was on the wrong page. Let me back up one. That will bring you here. This is the Pimax OpenXR. Okay, now you're going to install both of these. You're going to install the OpenXR Toolkit, and then you also install Pimax OpenXR. At least that's where I have it done, and it's working beautifully. Come over here to releases. And once again, you're going to just download either the executable or the MSI. I just download the MSI, let it install, and then select your directory. And it's the same thing for the OpenXR Toolkit. It will have an installer. Let it choose its location or pick the location you're choosing, but it installs very, very easily. And then find the last thing that we're going to want is the OBS plugin that allows us to basically connect directly from the VR headset directly into OBS, and it works so nice. So, and do pay attention that currently it's supporting DirectX 11 only, which actually I don't know if that's still true because I'm pretty sure my Microsoft Flight Simulator is set to DirectX 12, but we'll check that later on. And then here for smooth recording, run OBS as an admin, and then you guys can see further information on this as well. There's a lot of really, really awesome information here, but we're going to come up here and go to the releases. This is 0.23. Download the zip. I already have it, but I'll show you guys what to do with that in just a moment. So again, a link to all of these pages will be down in the description below. So make sure that you guys have gotten to this point, and then we'll continue on with the video. Okay, so assuming that you have ran the installer for Pimax OpenXR and the OpenXR Toolkit, again, you want to run both of those. The next thing that we're going to do is we're actually going to take a look at how to install the plugin. So here is the zip that I downloaded just the other day. You guys can see it was the same version we were looking at here. Let me come back to that. And let me move this out of your way. Oops. Well, I guess it sort of worked. You guys can see the version is the same, 0.23 here. And we can see it here in the File Explorer. So anyways, now at this point, we're going to come into this directory here. And you guys can see install layer and uninstall layer. These are PowerShell scripts. Okay. And uninstall does exactly what it says it is, and install does exactly what it says it does. Now, you can either right click on them or you can just double click them, and it should automatically launch PowerShell. Okay, they are safe. I have already ran mine. And then the last thing that you need to do is, but back up, make sure that you save this, guys, because if you do want to uninstall it later, here's where you're going to want to put it. Now, the installation instructions tell you here, if we go back to the web page for just a moment, I don't want anyone being fooled because you're going to notice that I did not do it. You guys are going to see here, extract the files from 2.3 zips into program files, example C program files, OpenXR, OBS Mirror. I did not do that. That does not seem to be a requirement. I very rarely install anything by choice into the program files directory. I usually like to keep things out of it. So I have not found a need to do this. It is working just fine. I actually just extracted it and did everything directly from the downloads folder. So just keep that in mind. Based on looking at the File Explorer window, some of the stuff it looks like is all external, meaning that we shouldn't have to come back and get any of this. These are the next two files that we're going to be very interested in. So you're going to take this file here, the Win OpenXR DLL and Win OpenXR PDB. We're going to copy both of these. So you can just highlight them, then hit Control C or right click and hit copy, whatever's easiest for you. And then we're going to go and find our OBS directory. Now this is one of the ones that I do have in the program files. So we're going to go C, program files, and if you just install it in the default location, yours should be in the same spot. So there's OBS Studio, and we're going to go to OBS plugins, 64-bit. And if we scroll down to the bottom, you guys can see I already have mine in there, but this is where you're going to paste it. So this is the directory, OBS Studio, OBS plugins, 64-bit, and then drop them in either with Control Victor V or just right click somewhere in an empty space and hit paste and it'll drop these. But these are the two that you want in here. As long as you have those in here, there you are, then we are good to go as far as the installation process. Now we're going to talk about a couple of pieces of configuration and maybe a couple of tips and tricks. I just realized that whole window moved over. There we go. So let's go ahead and keep moving. So the next piece that we're going to talk about is the OpenXR Toolkit itself. You have the ability to either disable it, okay, and this will actually remove the OpenXR Toolkit from any use. So that is kind of handy. It's very, very easy to do, or you just uncheck it and you're able to use it as you were before. Has a few configuration options and different key binding settings that you can change. And then you have the ability down below to select which simulators you currently want it mapped to. Now, I'm not going to go into how to configure all the settings in OpenXR. The one thing that I will tell you guys again, is to please go over to VR Flight Sim Guy's channel. Again, I will have a link to his channel down in the description below. He has a ton of videos on optimizing OpenXR for various headsets and really helps in making the experience that much better. So I don't want to take that away from him. So please go over to his channel. He's got a ton of very awesome stuff, but you guys can see some of the options that I currently have set. So other than that, for the OpenXR portion, this is pretty default except for when you're in Sim. The cool thing about the OpenXR Toolkit is by using these control bindings, you guys are actually able to adjust many of the options directly inside the simulator. You have your headset on, you hit your key binding, and then you use various keyboard commands that you're seeing here, Control F1, F2, F3, F12, etc. And you are able to, from that point, adjust the fidelity, everything from color, brightness, resolution, motion compensation. I mean, you name it. There's just about everything that you can think of inside of the OpenXR Toolkit that really allows you to change many of the VR features on the fly. The really cool thing for Microsoft Flight Simulator is some of the settings will say that the VR session must be restarted. All that means for Microsoft Flight Simulator is you need to hit, what is it, the Control Tab or Alt, Control Tab, get out of VR, and then hit it again to go back into VR. You guys know how you can swap between 2D and 3D very quickly in the simulator. And then your session is restarted and your changes will take effect. It's got a very handy FPS counter that is also very, very useful for fine-tuning your configuration. It's a really amazing tool, you guys. But again, if you guys want further information on this that is very, very detailed, please make sure that you guys check out the VR Flight Sim Guys channel. I promise you won't be disappointed. There's tons of stuff over there. So next, for Pimax users, we're going to talk about the Pymax XR and a couple of things you need to do, really just one. Okay, so next up here, we have the Pymax XR Runtime. This is what's going to allow you to stop having to worry about Steam VR. But again, you guys can see how easy it is to swap between the two. If you're having problems with the Pymax XR, if it's really giving you a hard time, something's not working, simply click it back over to Steam VR until you can address the issue. All of these other settings that I have down here, I leave default. The only thing that I tried using was the show mirror window. Do not use this if you're going to use the OpenXR mirror that we just downloaded, which we're going to get into in just a second. You know, the mirror that's back here behind on the page here. I have found that once the mirror starts here, it will mess up the VR runtime up here, or the mirror over here. So you do not want to have the show mirror window checked inside of Pymax XR if you're going to continue with this method. All right, that's it for the configuration. It's pretty short and sweet. So now it's just a matter of, as far as these things go, next we're going to show you guys a couple settings that I have configured from mine that gives me some of the fidelity that I have, as well as just a couple of OBS settings, but nothing crazy. Okay, guys. So real quick tips. My OBS has been kind of a pain in the butt for me right now in regard to my super ultra wide monitor. So bear with me. Just listen up with me for just a second. The monitor that I run my flight simulation on is set to 4K. Okay, it is a 4K monitor. All right. My base canvas recording in OBS is also set to 4K, downscaling to 1920 by 1080 using the Lacanzo. I think I just said that wrong. Let's find out here. Using the Langzos sharpening scaling, and I really like it the most so far. Please remember that these settings do not fit all, right? It's going to be based on horsepower. It's going to be based on your video hardware. Some of this you may still have to tweak. And then also I have Microsoft Flight Simulator running at 4K at almost maxed settings. Due to the use of the OpenXR Toolkit, I was able to set pretty much all of the graphics settings to either high or better in VR. So keep that in mind. Many of them are set to ultra. I am not going to show what my video settings are simply because of the fact that, again, everybody's machine is going to be different, and I don't want to get anyone's hopes up. I want you to dig. I want you to test. I want you to find out what works best for you. Otherwise, it just becomes an even more frustrating path. You may think the idea of testing is frustrating. Trust me, when you get excited about somebody else's settings and you go to try it and it doesn't work, it's even worse. All right, but now I'm going to show you guys some of this footage that I've been seeing. All right, guys. So first off, make no mistake, we are not moving exclusively to VR recordings, but we're going to be doing quite a few more of them now that we have figured this out. You know, when I'm done, bear with me here. This is my first time flying this particular aircraft. We'll be doing a review of this aircraft probably either tonight or tomorrow, so be on the lookout for that. It's a really fun plane, by the way. Anyways, pay attention to the legibility of the gauges and the radio comms and all the different light switches and toggle switches, whatever, as you know, I stop moving my head around like a jerk. It does take me a minute, but I do finally settle down, I promise. Some of that is actually the motion pit bouncing me around as well. So anyway, the thing that I want you guys to be aware of is the quality difference that we don't normally see in virtual reality recordings. One of my biggest things, like I said earlier, was that I refused to do VR recordings because I never got the fidelity. They was always so pixelated. The edges were so beat up. The anti-aliasing was so bad in them that it made it very, very hard to really, you know, do any kind of quality recordings with them, if you will. And this process really changed the game significantly. I was very, very impressed with this, and I can't say it enough. Again, to the VR Flight Sim guy and Sky King, thank you very much for helping me get through this, because it made things possible that I was getting very frustrated with, which is part of why my content submission rate, if you guys notice, has been sort of up and down lately. Some days I'm submitting, other days I'm not. A lot of it has been trying to figure out how to make this happen in an effective manner. So it's a really, really awesome tool. It really gives you the opportunity to share your VR experiences, whether it be with friends or content creation, whatever it is that you're doing. Holy crap, that was a terrible takeoff. Anyway, the overall experience, guys, has been really, really nice. I mean, if you guys look at things like the RPM gauges over there on the right-hand side of the cluster, again, if I stop wiggling my head around, and I promise it does settle down here in a minute. But look at things like the vertical speed indicator, the radio stack frequencies. You can actually read what they say. And that was one of my biggest issues. Now, remember that the Pimax 8KX has a very wide field of view. Actually, the Pimax headsets in general, they are just under. They say they're advertised as 240 degrees of field of view. It's not quite 240 if memory serves, but it's darn close. So each eye has a much wider field of view than most headsets that you're probably used to. So some of what you're seeing here is going to be a bit of a stretched image, and there's some playing around that I need to do to decide what field of view is actually going to be the best for what we're looking to do here. I may reduce that. I think I do have mine currently on the largest setting. So it's on a very wide field of view. So each eye is going to produce a very wide angle. So that's why you can see so much of the cockpit. And I may reduce some of that. But the overall experience of the recording has been absolutely flawless. Minimal, if any, noticeable frame rate loss. There's obviously more testing to be done in much more populated areas. I picked a remote section on purpose. I wanted to give myself a nice solid baseline on where to start with, right before we start adding cities and things like that. I wanted to give it a really smooth experience and then slowly start working into the more industrialized areas and highly populated areas, so that way we can have a baseline of what to start tweaking. But very, very cool tool, you guys. I can't recommend it enough. And with that, guys, I'll let you enjoy the landing. I hope you guys appreciate this video. I hope you found it useful. Again, mileage may vary based on the headset, but it's definitely a very, very nice tool to have, and certainly opened up opportunity that wasn't previously there by recording directly from the headset itself. It made a huge difference in performance. So as always, guys, stay safe and healthy, and I'll see you in the next one.